Okay, 3/4 by 1/4. What we're going to make is a fork. This one was done out of 3/8 split and made for this fork. This 3/4 by 1/4 is going to be a larger roasting size fork. My main goal in this video is to show you how to forge the tines. I'm not going to be super exacting on measurements for the length of the cut. It's more about the steps and the stages I want to show you, because I haven't been taught how to do it this way before I had my class with Lao Lin last summer. So I'm doing my best to cut down the center of the material. Just about ready to go through, so I'll put on my soft plate. Okay, as you can see, starting to cut through. What I'm going to do is take one more heat, move to the vise, and cut in this way with it vertically in the vise, just to get that rag to terminate at an equally this way, so we're not at a slant like this due to the curve on the end of the punch. As you can see, cut all the way down to the base of my V, and if you look this way you can see the ragged material. Now most people would have you bend this open and file out the rag and get rid of this kind of semi-teardrop shape. I'm going to show you how you just forge with that and forge it out. That's the trick that I'm trying to feature in this video. So here's the fork I made earlier out of 3/8 square, and here's one in my left hand, on the left, my left, your right, is a fork made out of 3/4 by 1/4. You can see the difference in size. So when I come out of the fire, the first thing I'm going to do, I've got that split, I'm going to forge down here behind the forks on the horn of the anvil with the round face of my hammer. Alright, so this is a setup for later on when we're forging these tines. This next step, I'm going to come out and start working the tines. Alright, so right now I'm just bending open a little more. Now I'm going to draw down the start of the point just a little bit, just to save me some work later. So as you can see, I have a thinner tine over here than over here. I can fix that a little later after drawing out. But the biggest keys coming up here is how I'm holding the stock in relation to the anvil. First off, I'm holding the stock so that it's 45 degrees off of vertical from the anvil. So if my hammer handle is at vertical and you measured back to the material, it'd be 45 degrees. Now, next, I'm going to basically start forging it on what would be the diamond by holding it 45 degrees up from the anvil to the material, and I'll be forging like this, and then I'll bring it back this direction and forge, and it'll be a 45-degree angle from here up to here, while still maintaining that 45 degrees from this vertical face back here to this material. And I'll be forging this way and this way. And as I do this, it will also open up this split and allow me to push the material further onto the anvil as we go. And I'll probably move back here to a sharper corner. And the goal is that this radius edge and this near edge of the anvil works itself. You end up working it back into here at the base of your split, and so you can get at and forge that the scarf, not the scarf, the rag from the cut. Alright, so that's the start of this one fork. I'll do this other fork, and then I'll repeat the process and keep repeating the process until I've opened up and got forged out this into the cut, because as you can see it's still kind of closed up, and not, this forged tine hasn't come all the way back into the crotch of the fork. Alright, as you can see, this fork here has worked further into the crotch than this fork, which I knew would happen, so I'll be coming back to this guy and start and take the next heat on this fork. Alright, hopefully as you can see, I forged out all the rag that was from the cut, and I've got a pretty clean crotch in there now on my fork. So all I have left is I'll clean up these tines a little bit, draw them down to a little finer point. So here I'm going to check the length of each tine, going from this edge to the far edge of my hardy hole, and it looks like they're pretty close. So now I'll take a heat in this area and get my tines bent. Alright, here's my general fork shape. Sorry. So I bent the tines over the horn, and as you can see, these aren't of equal length. I need to make this one a little longer. So I'll take a heat in the forge, and I can forge it here at the step of the anvil a little bit in order to make the tine a little longer. And this, it would be difficult to do this if they were square in cross section on these flats, because you'd have one face to forge here and you'd have to be able to fit the entire fork around the heel or of the anvil or something. Whereas having them so that the square, it's a diamond cross section, allows you to forge this way without having to span the whole step of the anvil, or the whole heel of the anvil, and forge this way, and I can still do my two-sided taper. Almost there. They're almost the same length. I'll have to take one more heat. Okay, so now I've got the tines the same length. This last squaring up, I forged the tines into a rhombus cross section, but thankfully I don't have any more forging that needs to be done, and I can finish it off, and I'm okay with leaving that as a rhombus cross section. This is going to be a marshmallow fork or a hot dog fork or something. So that was the main key I wanted to show you. I'll try and get some up close stills and video of the crotch of this fork once it's cooled down, and I'll get some stills as well of a piece that's been slit and has the rag on it. Here's the fork I forged in the video, and as you can see, there's just a little bit of issue right there in the very crotch where I could not get the anvil corner in there and forge that out. That's left over from cutting. If we look at the fork that Lyle forged in my class, you can see there's just a very slight blemish there in the center that you can really only see if you catch the light right. But this interior angled edge continues all the way around through the base of the fork, and nothing really going on there on the back side either. So that's the goal. With enough practice, can clean up that inside edge and make a nice continuous tines with no little gaps like that guy. But otherwise, they did good. So all these tines are still square in cross section. These are round. I just forged them to octagon, then round, and when they were still split open like this, and then bent them closed after having forged the tines round. All the decoration on the handle was done under the trowel hammer with some chasing tools. Okay, so this is a piece of 1/2 inch square that I split, and I wanted to show you that rag that you get on the edge. Right here on this edge, that's the last edge to get cut through. You get a rag, and you can see down here at the bottom there's some little burrs sticking off of it. And you can kind of see it at this angle. There's a rag from cutting through, just the way it happens, and the cross section is kind of bad. So this is what this whole technique on forging on the near edge of the anvil does, is to get rid of this rag, because in a lot of books what they have you do is open this split up, open as far as you can, and then go in with a file and file out all the material, whereas like I showed you before with this fork that Lyle forged, there isn't any need to split open and file it, because you can forge it all, which saves you time in producing these forks and makes them a lot easier to do.